So, Michael Shellenberger, the author of Apocalypse Never, and helped break the infamous Twitter files with Matt Taibbi, in which it showed the documents on how Twitter operated, and that was released, and showed that there was a coordinated effort between basically the establishment, the FBI, and Twitter, and just how it all operated, and censorship, and what that entailed. And that coined the expression that we now know as the censorship industrial complex. And I'm sure you guys have heard of that. Well, Shellenberger has now released new documents, only the other day, which shows that a whistleblower has sent to him more files containing the US and the UK military contractors getting involved with a particular group known as CTIL, which stands for, and I keep forgetting this every time because it's quite long, the Cyber Threat Intelligence League, which sounds a bit mad.
Sounds like something out of a cartoon.
It does, doesn't it? So I thought it would be fun to go through the key points of the article, get your reactions to the article, because I presume you guys haven't read it as of yet, which would be great. And yeah, just get your thoughts and reactions to it. But starting off, I thought we would do a little promotion, which I've added in for your guys' obviously website. And there was a particular article up there called Surveillance on Steroids, the Future of Britain. Thank you. So I should learn to do that, actually, which is a fantastic article. And I didn't know about in London. We know that CCTV is massive. We know that we pretty much live in a beta surveillance state, pretty much. But I didn't realize that there was one CCTV camera for every 10 people in London.
Is that true?
That is true, yeah. And you can check out the article there, which was made by John Mack. I want to say it's Glynn. I think that's how you say the surname. Apologies if I've gotten that completely wrong. But yeah, it's a fantastic article, and it's a serious eye-opener. So more black pills for everyone at home. So yeah, there you go.
Take us on a journey then.
Shall we take you on the journey? So here is the full article, which is on the public Substack. You can quickly find that if you type it in. That and Michael Shellenberger, which the title is US and UK military contractors created sweeping plan for global censorship in 2018, so 5 years ago. And these new documents show that. A whistleblower makes trove of new documents available to public and racket, showing the birth of the censorship industrial complex in reaction to Brexit and Trump's election in 2016. Which is pretty mind-blowing.
Not in response to ISIS.
No, nothing like that. It was Brexit and, of course, Trump being elected.
That's the real threat to the West.
That's the biggest threat, yeah. So, just to read off to start with, it says, a whistleblower has come forward with an explosive new trove of documents rivaling or exceeding the Twitter files and Facebook files in scale and importance. They describe the activities of, quote, anti-disinformation group called the Cyber Threat Intelligence League, or CTIL, that officially began as the volunteer project of data scientists and defense and intelligence veterans, but whose tactics over time appear to have been absorbed into multiple official projects, including those of the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS. The CTI League documents offer the missing link answers to key questions not addressed in the Twitter files and Facebook files. Combined, they offer a comprehensive picture of the birth of the anti-disinformation sector, or what we have called the censorship industrial complex. The whistleblower's documents describe everything from the genesis of modern digital censorship programs to the role of the military and intelligence agencies, partnerships with civil society organizations and commercial media, and the use of sock puppet accounts and other offensive techniques. Well, what does come to mind with that is in Britain, we have what is known as the 77th Brigade, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. I'm sure the audience know of. So the 77th Brigade basically engages in non-lethal warfare and uses social media to control the narratives and influence online behavior, not for foreign countries, as we know, but for, as well, its own citizens.
So it's PSYOPs.
PSYOPs, exactly. I believe you guys have covered the 77th Brigade before,
Yes.
but briefly. So we won't go into detail about 77th, but there is a comparison between the two.
I mean, they were literally spying on Christopher Hitchens.
Yes.
Sorry, on Peter Hitchens.
Yes. Sorry, Peter
Couldn't really
Hitchens.
spy on a dead man, could you?
No. That was during the lockdown periods, but many other journalists as well were, spied on during the time of anti-lockdown rhetoric.
Well, Toby Young, I think, was also on the list.
Yes, which is scary, to say the least. But going back to this, it says the whistleblower alleges that a leader of CTI League, which is a former British intelligence analyst, was in the room at the Obama White House in 2017 when she received the instructions to create a counter-disinformation project to stop a, quote, repeat of 2016. So,
okay.
I don't know. I don't like the idea of a former British intelligence analyst in the same room as Obama, in the White House in 2017, and then was told, okay, in reaction to Brexit and Trump being elected, we don't want a repeat of this.
Well, is this that big a news that the intelligence agencies of the United Kingdom and the United States are both infested with political activists? Really news?
No.
Because you may remember the CIA advert that everyone made fun of, where it's like, here at the CIA, we're the most intersectional types you'll ever meet. Like, the hell am I watching? And a lot of people were like, oh, the CIA are just trying to whitewash their crimes. It's like, no, these people are real.
Yeah.
They've now got those jobs.
They are literal social revolutionaries in the highest possible realm of power.
So when it comes to the wrong person won the election, and them using that power that they've got, well, they were entrusted with to defend the country, but instead turning it on the country. It's not a surprise, I suppose, but it's great to know that we're right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's so important about this article that's been dropped, because I think the point of this is not only to say, we were right, but more so of we're seeing it through the lens of the deep state and what they actually have been doing, which is incredibly important. But it says that the US Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency has been the center of gravity for much of the censorship, with the National Science Foundation financing the development of censorship and disinformation tools, and other federal government agencies playing a supportive role. So they have the financing from the National Science Foundation, which is pretty big. Internal CTI Slack messages show Terp, who is the person that was in the room with the former president, her colleagues and officials from DHS and Facebook are all working closely together in the censorship process. The CTIL framework and the public-private model are the seeds of what both the US and UK would put into place in 2020 and 2021, including masking censorship within cybersecurity institutions and counter-disinformation agendas, a heavy focus on stopping disfavored narratives, not just wrong facts, and pressuring social media platforms to take down information or take other actions to prevent content from going viral. So, it's all basically a confirmation. And I don't know, it's sort of strange to see, because on the one hand, so many people were taken down for being called conspiracy theorists, for being called nut jobs. No, the government isn't spying on you. What are you on about? No, they're not conspiring on a Discord or a Slack to.
Okay, well, here's the guys who did them. Here's who they spied on.
Yeah. Where do you want to go from here then? Vindicated. But this,
I mean, the motive's the worst part, because if Peter Hitchens or Toby Young or Donald Trump were enemies of the country, That doesn't make any sense.
Hi folks, we've rolled out a new feature on the website, which is the ability to pay for an individual piece of content. So usually it's £5 a month every month to subscribe to all of the content on the website. But I appreciate there are going to be people who simply don't want to do that. They would be interested instead in purchasing a single piece of content for a lower amount, and they've got a particular niche that they're interested in watching. And so they don't want every single piece of content. They just want this one thing. So we've introduced this function where you can just simply purchase the one thing for £1.89, which I think is about $2.30 at the current exchange rates. And then that's just yours forever. So there's no sort of commitment there. There's no rolling subscription. It's just that one thing. So that's an option now that's on the website. It's completely live. It's completely available. And please go and enjoy it. And we'll see you all very soon.
Why would they consider him an enemy of the country?
Exactly, right? And that's the really big part of this for me, is that the intelligence agency is run by activists who have decided the country is the enemy itself.
Yes. It's I don't know how you kind of root out that problem other than firing them, but you can't at the minute. So it's kind of just,
I mean, that's a tough issue here because I mean, this comes to, you could say, secret services. It's very unrealistic to think that you can have a new country right now, a contemporary country without secret services. The question is, how do you ensure that they are going to serve the interests of the country? And it seems that if the agenda that they are serving is basically anti-English, they're not doing that.
Well, that's more my worry.
That's
more my worry, which is if you have an intelligence agency that is not focused on the enemies of your nation, but instead on targeting your nation, you don't have an intelligence agency. You have a state-funded lobbying group, essentially.
And you have a very authoritarian identification of critics of the establishment with enemies of the people.
Yes.
Because that's what happens. And that's authoritarian, borderline totalitarian.
Yes. Well, this Cyber League's approach, according to this article, to disinformation went far beyond censorship. The documents show that the group engaged in offensive operations to influence public opinion, discussing ways to promote counter-messaging, co-opt hashtags, dilute disfavored messaging, and create sock puppet accounts and infiltrate private invite-only groups. Yeah, so we've reached a brand new stage now. And we have been in that stage for a long time. And people suspected it. People saw patterns. People saw what was happening. And, yeah. Oh, apparently I've gotten something wrong. Lewis, why are you saying that the intelligence officer was in the Obama White House in 2017? Trump was in president then. How could Obama be in the White House? This undermines credibility of the data you're presenting. Actually, I think I've read that completely wrong. At the start, it says 2 seconds.
Well, at what point did they leave? Because you have the election in November 2016.
Yeah.
So I presume it's during that crossover period?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I believe so.
Prior to January 20. Or...
Yeah.
I presume so.
Yeah.
So in January 2017 or in that crossover period. Because I know there was a lot of tonnery going on then as well.
Yeah.
Like the narrative building that Donald Trump had won the election because of the Russians came from Hillary Clinton's campaign after they lost.
Yeah.
And then was promoted by Obama as well. And it was like, but not just Obama, the FBI, James Comey, which must have happened at the last stage of them handing it over.
Well, just to reiterate, it says the whistleblower alleges that a leader of the CTI League, a former British intelligence analyst, was in the room at the Obama White House in 2017, where she received the instructions to create a counter-disinformation project to stop a repeat of 2016. So it must have been just before Trump was ushered in.
Yeah, so in that crossover period.
Yeah, so
the election's in November and then...
Yeah, so just to reiterate there. I got a bit worried then because I thought I definitely did read that part out.
Either that or someone messed up, but I doubt it.
No, I doubt that. It says, in one suggested list of survey questions, CTIL proposed asking members or potential members, quote, have you worked with influence operations, for example, disinformation, hate speech, or digital harms previously? The survey then asked whether these influence operations include, quote, active measures and psyops. And the League's ultimate goal, said the whistleblower, was to become part of the federal government. And in our weekly meetings, this is the quote here, they made it clear that they were building these organizations within the federal government. And if you built the first iteration, we could secure a job for you. So basically saying, come and work for us, or yeah, we can actually offer you stability in that respect. Terp's plan, which she shared in presentations to information security and cybersecurity groups in 2019, was to create misinfosec communities, quote, that would include the government, because this particular league was supposed to operate, quote, independently, right, to counter things such as cyber attacks and stuff like that. But then the government and NGOs sort of got involved and went, actually, no, we want you to work for us because what you're doing actually coincides with our messaging. So it kind of just all blends in like a melting pot. But then, of course, the media got involved and said, it says Bloomberg, Washington Post, and others published credulous stories in the spring of 2020, claiming that the CTI League was simply a group of volunteer cybersecurity experts. Its founders were a, quote, former Israeli intelligence official, a Microsoft security manager, and the head of SecOps for DEF CON, a hackers convention. The articles claim that those highly skilled cybercrime professionals had decided to help billion-dollar hospitals on their own time without pay for strictly altruistic motives. So yeah, kind of backs up what I said, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. The MisinfoSec report advocates for sweeping government censorship and counter misinformation. During the first 6 months of 2019, the authors say they analyzed incidences, developed a reporting system, and shared their censorship vision with, quote, numerous state, treaty, and NGOs. I mean, personally, I think this comes onto like the line of treasonous like activities, basically. I don't know what you guys think, but
yeah, the intelligence agencies should not be engaging in politics.
No, at all.
And anyone who does, I mean, yeah, firing isn't really good enough, is it? Because you've got to make more of an example of a person doing that to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
some kind of criminal charges do seem right.
Yeah. It says in every incident mentioned, the victims of misinformation were on the political left, and they included Barack Obama, John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and Emmanuel Macron. The report was open about the fact that its motivation for counter misinformation were the twin political earthquakes of 2016, Brexit, and the election of Trump. The report focused on information that changes beliefs through narratives and recommended a way to counter misinformation by attacking specific links in a kill chain or influence chain from misinfo incident before it becomes a full-blown narrative. So trying to sweep in, grab that narrative and trying to change that before it's fully fledged. The report laments that governments and corporate media no longer have full control of information. Quote, for a long time, the ability to reach mass audiences belonged to the nation state. For example, in the USA via broadcast licensing through ABC, CBS, and NBC. And it says, now, however, control of informational instruments has been allowed to devolve to large technology companies who have been blissfully complacent and complicit in facilitating access to the public for information operators at a fraction of what it would have cost them by other means. And the authors advocated for police, military, and intelligence involvement in censorship across Five Eyes nations, and even suggested that Interpol should be involved. So quite clearly, probably the biggest PSYOP operations we have seen in a long, long time, if not ever, I would say.
Did they claim any achievements in this? Because I know this is just Shellenberger telling us what he's read, which he seems like a guy we can trust because he's never wrong before or misled anyone. But does he say that there's any actual achievements they list as like, oh, we were able to counter this narrative or that narrative?
Well, he ends it, which I was going to bring up at the end, that he put out a tweet that he's going to provide a testimony today in Congress to present all the information given, because he's been in and out of court recently. I think RFK has been involved as well with this censorship industrial complex. So I think we're going to see more of how they're going to actually sort this out or rectify this. So I think stay tuned for now. But it says, despite their confidence in the legality of their activities, some CTIL members may have taken extreme measures to keep their identities a secret. The group's handbook recommends using burner phones, creating pseudonymous identities, and generating fake AI faces using the quote, "this person does not exist" website. In June 2020, the whistleblower says the secretive group took actions to conceal their activities even more. And this is, if I just go forward, this is what Shellenberger tweeted last. So here it is. It says, to end on that, it says, I look forward to providing testimony to Congress this Thursday, which I believe is today. Yep. About the censorship industrial complex's clear and present threat to the United States of America and other liberal democratic Western countries, and how we can shut it down. So hopefully we're going to see a big win very soon, because even though that this information is starting to really trickle out and we're seeing more and more, hopefully something will be done about it. And of course, testifying or presenting the threat to, the testimony to Congress, hopefully we're going to see some...
Does he have any idea of how this could be done or something? I mean, technically speaking, it's not his job. I'm just asking. If you've seen any of his tweets, has he written more about it? Or
so if you go through this thread, which you can find, I mean, he outlines most of the article anyway. Volunteer, former government agency. Yeah, we just read that one out. Hogwarts School of Misinformation.
Why do they always have to go back to bloody Harry Potter?
They do, don't they? They love it. SJ called us the Hogwarts School of Misinformation and Disinformation, said the whistleblower. They were superheroes in their own story, and to that effect, you could still find comic books on the CISA website. But yet, more information.
Reddit country.
What I decided to do, I decided to just take out the brief notes from this big article that you can check out yourself and what Shellenberger has actually announced. But I think it's progress to hopefully finding a resolution to this, and to, of course, sort of expose this a lot more. So I thought it would be an incredibly important segment to have for people that hadn't seen it just yet.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Symposium series, this episode on the problem of free will. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at the Lotus Eaters _com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.